You are listening to the Real Men Feel Show with Andy Grant. Real Men Feel encourages men to allow and express all of their emotions. Despite what you may have been taught, all emotions do serve you. Real Men Feel is committed to engaging in discussions that most men aren't having, but you don't need to be a man to join us. The Real Men Feel Show is produced weekly for your growth and enjoyment. Listen to us on podcast platforms including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and many more. You can also watch the show on YouTube by visiting realmenfeel.org/YouTube. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe on iTunes by visiting realmenfeel.org/iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at realmenfeelorg and at facebook.com/realmenfeelshow. All links mentioned in each episode are in the show notes found on the blog at realmenfeel.org. Real Men Feel is brought to you by the Good Men Project. Visit goodmenproject.com for more of the conversations no one else is having. Your reviews, comments, feedback, and participation are welcome during the live show and anytime in our Facebook group, on Twitter, or at realmenfeel.org. Now, let's get into this week's show. Hello and welcome to Real Men Feel. This is your host, Andy Grant. You know, at the core, maybe you don't know, so I'll tell you. At the core of Real Men Feel is encouraging men to acknowledge, accept, and express all of their emotions, because that's what life is about, right? We are emotional beings. We're human beings, and we have these things called emotions, and they all can really serve us. The only time that a negative emotion, a so-called negative emotion, is really negative is when you try to deny it and hide it and get rid of it and stuff it and pretend it doesn't exist. That's when the shit can hit the storm. And if you have a lot of shit hitting the storm, you might end up with a pit of shit. And that's what we're going to explore today. We're going to go into the darker emotions and to really explore and talk about like why you want to feel them. Why, how does it serve you to explore that aspect of you, to go dark at times and be willing to? So we're going to explore the shit pit, and our guide is Mr. Henry Johnstone. He's a coach, mentor, speaker, and podcaster from London, England. So welcome, Henry.
Andy, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to delve into the deep, dark shitness with you.
It's going to be a good one. And so we've talked a couple times, and I had never heard the term shit pit before. So I don't know if that's something that just came out of you in that moment, or is something that's part of your kind of background and your terminology from your professional expertise. But so tell me a little bit about, what is a shit pit? What makes it up?
Ooh, well, good question. A shit pit is something that I came up with by myself from my vernacular, which I am British, so there's a lot of shit and a lot of pit, and I just joined them both together in this marvelous word to describe something that is it's just really, really, really shit, that is self-created, and therefore you have the whole of the shitness that you've created, and it is thus a pit which I would sit in and be like, oh golly gosh, look at this hideous shit pit I'm in. How do I get out of this? How did this get created? Am I happy here? Oh, yeah, I'll stay here for a little bit. Why not? That's where it came from.
Right. And being and I noticed you said you created it, so it's not something else made, or maybe you did blame others for it. Did you always realize this is my own creation?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why, but I kind of see myself as because I had such low self-esteem and low self-worth, I saw it as no one else's fault. It couldn't possibly be anyone else's fault apart from mine, because I was such an utterly shit, worthless human being. On me, that's where I felt most comfortable. I almost didn't have the confidence to say that's someone else's fault, because I couldn't bear the thought of having any kind of confrontation, even within my mind, with anyone else. It was all my fault, and I was quite happy to have it all my fault, because then I could just sit in it and feel really, really shit about it.
Cool. Well, not cool, but I'm glad that you're aware of it. I am getting some warnings that you have a
no, man,
bandwidth this problem. So I don't know if there's anything you can do on your end, but you're breaking up quite a bit here.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh mate, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. So I don't know if you can, because at least on this end, what I'm saying, I don't know if everyone else is seeing it, and I'm afraid the recording and the experience for everybody. We don't want a shitty experience of the shit pit, so we'll take a little unplanned technical intermission and get everything going again.
Maybe.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Like I said, this is all an experiment. It's all good. I'll know not to trust Londoners.
Those bloody blighty.
So, and sometimes the shit pit shows up as geez, sometimes the shit pit is in my mouth. Sometimes the shit pit can be technology issues, which we had. So we were trying to be live on Facebook, and it is just not working for us today. So we are just going to press on. And we were, I believe, Henry, you're talking about having the awareness and recognizing that the shit pit was your creation, and even that you actually took a bit of like some pride in it in a distorted way. Is that right?
Yeah. Like, I think to get deeper into it, there was definitely pride wrapped up in all my mental health and all my self-harm and all my self-abuse. Absolutely. Because there was this kind of identity of the man. And I don't know where I picked up this identity from. It was this identity that the man can take a beating, but he just carries on. And that was, I couldn't quite stand up and be assertive with myself. So what I did was I was assertive with how much pain I could take on. And it simply was never a case of I can take on too much pain. So that's what I did. That's what my shit pit was. It was just increased volumes of pain just to see how much that was my identity, Andy, the amount of pain that I could put myself through and not break. But the weird thing was, but it's not weird, like anyone else could have told me that I was breaking. I was broken, through that very act of trying not to break.
And so what age is this happening? How young are you when you're having this experience?
We're like 12, 13. Wow. Around that's when it all started. Like I was such a beautiful kid. And I was so sorry. You probably hear my dogs making a noise in the background. I apologize about that. I was a beautiful child. I was very, very loving, very, very easygoing, would tell people that I loved them, would do everything I could to help people. Very, very expressive, totally unafraid in that expression. Of course, that singled me out a little bit, but it wasn't a problem. And then I went to, sorry, I'm just going to shut the door because they're starting to make really strange noises. I went to a boarding school, and it was an all-males boarding school, and it was exactly how you'd imagine an English boarding school to be. It was very, very dictatorial, very masculine-driven. It was very sporty, very army, very competition-based, and there just simply was not a place for a young Henry to be, because I couldn't express myself. And any time that I did, I was singled out for being weird. I had teachers telling me constantly that I was strange, that I was weird. Like, what do you? My my second name is actually Stephen. I changed it for my coaching name, Henry Johnstone. But they used to go, "Oh, Stephen, like, you're such a weird child. You're such a wretched child." I constantly got this message that there was something very, very wrong with me. And it wasn't that I just didn't have the understanding to think, hey, actually, no, they've got a problem because they don't understand the child that I am. So I just absorbed it all. And whatever that message that I absorbed just manifested inside me. So I became that weird problem. I manifested that. And that's where I started to dig the shit bit, because I had to have somewhere to put all this negativity. So I just created this persona for myself, which was the weird child. No one understood me. No one could help me. And there was something very, very wrong with me.
Unfortunately, I'm afraid a lot of guys can relate to that and see that. And, I bet there's even perspectives that other kids in that school who were putting on a different act and had their different, shit hidden some other way. I'm sure you're not the only person there that was like having a horrible experience.
I would guarantee that many of the pupils, many of my peers probably left that school and developed some kind of mental health problem because it was so strict. You know, there were some guys who flourished in that. You know, it's very much their kind of personality type, but the sensitive ones were singled out. You know, and I think we probably got the hardest time of all.
So did your family not see the beautiful, sensitive child you were, or were they trying to kind of change that?
No. They totally saw. I had a learning difficulty as well, so really bad dyslexia, undiagnosed ADHD and OCD, from dyspraxia as well, from a really early age. They only really knew about the dyslexia. So my family were trying to send me to a place that they thought might help me. You know, my parents, with the tools that they had available, and they're both teachers, with the tools that they had available to them, they're like, how can we best support Henry? And actually the school that I went to was where I grew up. And they thought maybe going back to where he grew up will help him in this boarding school. Maybe he'll be given, you know, the order that he needs, because I was very, very chaotic. So I think my parents to this day still feel really guilty about what they did. But I always say to them, you know, like, you acted with the best intentions with the toolkit that you had available. The fall that was happening, they didn't know like how badly I was suffering, because the only adults I had around me were adults telling me that either there was something like inherently very, very wrong with me, you know. And the way that I understood adults, I didn't know that my parents weren't going to tell me something different. So I just hid it from them.
So you didn't go to school, had a bad experience and leave in a few months. You went through the whole program.
How do you mean the whole program?
Like you were there for years?
Oh no, I burnt out. I was there for 2 years, and then I started to act out really badly. Just really ran. I started to steal a lot. Started to break into people's houses and steal booze. I was the weird kid who like always had alcohol. Always was the one getting crazy drunk who went out of school and got drunk on the weekends, whatever. And then I had a mental breakdown at that age, and I got sectioned. In England they call it sectioning. I don't know what the US term is, but it wasn't, because I was so young. I was encouraged or taken out of school and moved into a mental health institution where they kind of put me for about a year as they tried to figure out what was wrong with me. And
did that help at all?
No, it didn't help, because like I just fooled them all. You know, they asked me if like, are you suffering from this? Yes. Yes, I have all of this. I don't want to go back to where I came from, you know, and it further like developed that false identity of the kind of child that I was. It's like, I can get out of this hell by pretending to be far iller than I am. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was in a really bad place, but they kind of suggested to me, do you have this? I'm like, yeah, no, I have all of this. Just don't make me go back into mainstream. I don't want to go back there. And I don't think it was particularly well funded, the place that I went to, and how I saw it. It was just a year off school where I could smoke, and adults were cool and would buy me cigarettes. So it didn't actually help me psychologically whatsoever. I mean, if I ever got angry, and I did suffer from quite severe bouts of anger, they kind of take you and stick you in a really tiny room on your own for like 6 hours or something, which was that wasn't helpful.
So from my own experience in talking to other guys, like, you can't help anybody until they want help. So so it sounds, so at this point you just thought you were wrong, you're broken, you're a mess, and that's just how it is. You weren't like, can someone help me?
No, never occurred to me. And that shift wasn't something that would happen until much later on in my life. It was a continued pattern of behavior that I would fail, because that is the child that I am. I'm a failure. Why would I ever try to be anything more? And then you build up this resistance to success, because success becomes the ultimate fear of like, what the fuck would it mean if I didn't have this security blanket, which I know is really unhealthy and I know it's holding me back, but I need it. I'm not ready. You know, that self-doubt, that removal of self-doubt. It's like, is this what success means? Like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'll take more drugs. Right. Yeah. No, I'll take more drugs and I'll deal with that later.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize it, if they haven't gone through it, that the notion of your comfort zone or your security blanket, even if it's horrible, It's what you're used to, so that there is some security and comfort. And if you're sure that you're just a total fuck up, then proving that brings a comfort level to it.
Absolutely. It's familiarity. We are comfort-seeking creatures, but we're also very complex, and we act out in really warped ways. So I say that I'm a comfort-seeking creature, and at that time of my life, worthlessness, failure, adults telling me that I was a failure and I'd never amount to anything, that was my comfort zone. You know, yeah, like it was, in hindsight, it was a really horrible place to be. But while I was there, it was like, good, I know where I stand now. I know what's expected of me. I'm happy with that. I'll just do this.
Mm. So this is your daily experience for years.
Mm.
And so what finally, you know, did this bottom out at some point? Did you just get sick of it? Did someone intervene? How did you bring this to an end at all?
It had to get a lot worse before it got any better. I mean, like we're talking right then, we were talking like when I was 15. So when I was 15 is when I properly started to get into addiction. You know, that was, I remember when it was when I was 18. Like from 15 to 18, I was really lost. Super. I didn't know what to do. I just knew that smoking weed was kind of okay, and playing video games all day was kind of okay, and that's where I was happy. And then at 18, I took my first ecstasy pill, and I was like, holy shit, this fixes all my problems inside me. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I don't care what it is, but to get this emotional feeling of balance and happiness, like this is what I've been searching for. This circumnavigates all the pain and all the void that I thought I had to face to move on. So I'll just do that. And then I did. And I just threw myself into it, Andy. For the next 10 years after that, I just took every single drug that I could that removed that emotion of fear of facing it, and made me feel as if I didn't have to look into the void without feeling pain. Like I'd feel clarity and hope for the first time. It gave me a bridge to bridge the pain towards kind of maybe meaning. And I threw myself into it. I took so many pills, and my teeth and my hair started to fall out. I was homeless. I was emaciated. I was so thin. I lost my family. They disowned me so many times. I lost I lost everything, and it was a willing. It got to that point where the bridge just disappeared, and I was back in the shit pit. That was where the shit pit was. Like all my actions had led me up to that point of pain, and I welcomed it in. In fact, I say this a lot. I have a light inside me that I believe saved me, but I tried to murder that through that time. They were dark, dark times where I literally physically and emotionally tried to murder all the goodness inside me. That is where the shit pit was. And yeah, it went very deep and it went very dark, and I lost everything.
Uh-huh. So how did you survive it? That light was brighter and stronger than you ever imagined.
Yeah, it was. It was something that I could never put out. It was something that had actually been there since I was a child. It was the thing that had been born with me, and it was my ability to show love and to give love. But I just forgot. I saw that as a weakness. If I started to show or give love, then it would mean that I'd be vulnerable to other people. You know, they would reject me on a far deeper level than saying that I was weird or that I was out of place or that I was never amount to be anything. If I actually showed my trueness to them, then that would be true abandonment, and that wasn't something I was willing to do. So it took time. You know, I very luckily I went through a period of about 6 months of progressively bad self-harm. It was getting dangerous, so dangerous. I think I shared with you when you were on my show, you know, I used to give myself paper cuts between my toes and fill my shoes with lemon and salt. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of the amount of damage that I did to myself in order to live, you know, a daily life. And I honestly believe, had I not gone into rehab, and I tried recovery, you know, I tried it once or twice. I wanted to drink, you know, I couldn't live without booze. What the fuck? You know, why would I want to do this? I was the addict, and I'm not alone here, who wanted to find a way around it. I wanted to beat the system. I wanted to get clean, but still get high. You know, it was possible. I'm super special. I can do that. Bollocks. Kind of fuck. I'm a fucking addict. You know what I mean? I need to get clean, and I need to get clean. So I went into rehab, And honest to God, I think I would have ended up in a jail, in an institution, or most likely I would be dead. I honestly think I probably had about a week, maybe 10 days of life left before I did something really fucking stupid. I went into rehab for 6 months, and I was presented very early on with a choice. And I do not know to this day what made me put one foot in front of the other in there. Because my whole life had been failure. It had been presented with opportunity, and then I'd fuck it up. That's what I did. That was all I knew. Going into this rehab, that light, that love, that willingness to be vulnerable came out. And I think that's what saved me, because bit by bit, I could just go into my darkest parts and say what I was most afraid of saying in a group of people that I didn't know. And masculinity, that came up massively early on. You know, I thought that I was expected to be a player, you know, a Jack the Lad kind of guy. And I was in a room with lots of people that I perceived to be this way. And I was like, I can't show them that I'm really sensitive and I like to pick flowers for my mum. That's not okay. But I did. I showed up in every single opportunity that I could, and I told the truth, because I never told the truth, ever. The only time I'd ever told the truth to myself was when I was covered in blood and half cut from drinking gin all night. Do you know what I mean? Where I may have just said to myself, I've got to change. This isn't okay. But that would soon be swallowed by self-loathing and that I deserved it. But at this point in rehab, I call it my higher power. If people believe in a higher soul, in a higher purpose, that was when it came through, and I'm glad that it did. And I started to meditate around then. Because it was a 12-step recovery, so it was AA based. They encourage you to find a God of your own meaning, you know, your higher power. And I made a really strong connection with my intuition and nature during that time. And I could tell when my higher power was communicating to me, because it would do it through sunlight and bouncing it off windows. So if anyone has ever walked down the street and you're having a bad day and you see sunlight bouncing off a window and suddenly you feel this sense of peace and actually it might be all right, that's a sign that there's something greater than you communicating with you. That is my honest belief. And all these things, they seem to happen at once. Like they were meant to happen at that point, because they'd never happened in unison at the same time. It just so happened they happened then. I was in rehab and I got clean and I showed up every single goddamn time, Andy. Oh my God. There were times when I gave them my keys. I was like, take these keys, because after saying that in group, I'm going to drink. I need to be locked in this building. I need you to take away my privileges. And I saw guys like fall off the wagon constantly. Like I was in a group of 20, it was about 25 as a full house. Saw about 60 people come and go. Only 3 of us are sober and alive. So many people die from this, you know. And I believe that to negate that, to stop that from happening, you got to do the one thing which is terrifying you the most, which is get real with your emotions and start to feel. In recovery, they say, good news is your emotions will come back. Bad news is your emotions will come back. Went on a big, long spiel then, but it's something I feel deeply, deeply passionate and driven about.
That is potent and powerful. And, you know, from hearing you say it, you know, it's obvious to me your higher power was always there. But as you said, you were trying to murder it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that light, it was always there. But until you're willing to hear it, until you're willing to embrace it, until you can possibly see that, you know, that there is another aspect of you that can live beyond the shit pit, that can live beyond addiction, that can actually feel that love and joy that you experienced and you expressed as a little boy. Man,
feels good to say it.
Good. Because that's really the point. And it's when you started unpacking it. It's when you started admitting how you felt, taking the risk of being different, and even people realizing that you're weirder than you thought you were. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So it was all those steps that's what brought your healing. That's what gave you life back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was that The most terrifying thing that I'd refused to do for 28 years was the one thing that would actually be it's kind of like the thing with emotions is that it starts off with this really intimidating risk, kind of move through this membrane of resistance. But once you're through that and you're there with the vulnerability and you're kind of saying something that you're like, whoa, 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 don't like this, but I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to stick with it. After that, it's like a snowball. It becomes easier and easier. And then suddenly, before you know it, you're able to express a whole vast array of emotions and people are just left speechless. You walk into a room and say, hey, I'm actually feeling quite vulnerable, but do you know what? I'm okay with that. How are you doing? It's just like people are like, whoa, who is this guy? He's so charismatic. You're like, no, I'm just totally at home with all my emotions.
Yeah, because there's a power. Everything that you're feeling inside, it wants to be expressed. We are expressive, creative beings. There's no doubt about that. And I think when you're the first person, when you take that vulnerable step, when you just, instead of saying, hey, how you doing? Great. When you actually, I'm actually kind of upset, a little anxious, a little depression, kind of waiting to burst out of me. I don't know what it's all about. I'm like, you take, whoa, you're telling me the truth. That's kind of weird. But it gives the other people freedom, gives them permission to feel it themselves and kind of share something in response. And even if they don't verbally share with you, they acknowledge more of their own emotions when they meet someone that's willing to show them kind of how it's done. That's what I find.
Yeah, and when they engage with it, they see that there's no risk in them engaging with it. So they start the journey of engaging with that emotion that they're kind of resisting. It's like, actually, that was all right. I feel strangely inspired by this. Is this what? Wait, can vulnerability be inspiring? Whoa, can I be a hero? It's like, yeah, you can absolutely be a hero. Like, I'll give an example today. I was telling you this before the call. I was having a perfectly normal day, walking my dogs, had a cup of coffee, suddenly, boom, I know a depression just hit me. Like, and I started crying, and I was crying solidly for 45 minutes, a deep pit of sadness. And I thought, what's the one thing I can do? And I did have that trepidation. It's like, should I share this? And I was like, absolutely, I'm going to share this. So I went to my Facebook group and I did a video. I was just tears streaming down my face. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I feel really sad. I thought this might help, that. And the response from that was, thank you. Thank you for showing me that it's okay, because it is okay to cry. There is no risk in it. Make sure you do it in an environment where you're going to be held and you're going to be loved and you're going to be respected for being the fucking hero that you are.
Yeah. In my own experience, sometimes the sadness is there and I go like, well, what am I really sad about? And it's kind of digging deeper into it. And sometimes just like, I'm really sad. Well, what do I do with this? I'm like, tell someone. And it could be like, your light source, your higher power, whatever terms you want to use, is saying, Henry, it's time to discover you're not alone. So I'm going to make you sad until you share that with someone. And then you'll be held and supported, right? Yeah. So,
yeah, absolutely. You've got to be. It's funny. I did some angel cards this morning, and one of them, this was before depression hits, and one of them was signs. One of them was answered prayers. The other one was signs. I was like, signs. Okay, so I'm going to look for signs. Boom, depression.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So that's a pretty clear sign. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because that's the thing, especially with people that are involved in spirituality. Well, the sign always has to be, beautiful and lovely. Like, no, I mean, the sign can be, shit pit this way, right?
Yeah, totally. It's always be open to any message that you receive, and it's often not like, it's almost like if you're, I think movies and TV have kind of propagated this image that when something magical happens, then it's surrounded by light, and it's actually a moment when the rainbows come, and it's like it's rarely like that. It's just a moment. Don't try and force it. If you force it, then you're putting your own agenda into it, and that's ego driven. So just let it happen. Accept that it's gonna happen, and ask that you be ready to hear it when it does. And then it removes all the pressure. It just takes all the pressure off you, so you don't have to do anything. You have to wait till something comes. Pretty easy, right? I
was teaching a class in my home yesterday. I had 7 psychics and mediums coming to learn about how to market them. They're new into this, and they're finally feeling brave enough to go share that they do this and they want to help people. And towards the end of the class, they all start kind of freaking out. And there's a lot of people looking and staring and grabbing phones. And I guess out the window behind me was a rainbow, and looked like the rainbow was coming out of my head. So they're all trying to get a picture, and they go, "Oh, Andy, you're the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's amazing." And, but the more they tried to take a picture, it just didn't work. So I was like, "You're like, no, I don't need, like, fine, just great, enjoy it. Don't try to prove it and share it.
Exactly.
And the sign, any sign, it means something to you, and if it does, great. It fulfilled its purpose. You don't need to, some things can be, a sign might be that, oh, go tell someone something, but, just receive it. And I like to think, it's kind of like, it's a hug from the universe.
Yeah.
Just for you,
Absolutely. Anyone listening, I'd recommend, if you're out for a walk and you see something, the moment that you feel like, I've got to take a picture of this and share it, just put your phone back in your pocket and enjoy the experience. And then you'll discover something more about yourself and how you receive gifts. What goes on inside. I know we have otters where we live and they swim in the river naturally. And I saw something the other day. I was like, no, put the phone down. I'm going to enjoy this. Whoa, there's a fucking otter right in front of me. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And it proper lifted my day. It was like, this moment has been curated for me right now.
Yeah.
Like, thank you, whoever you are out there. I enjoyed that thoroughly. Thank you very much.
Yeah. 'Cause there's a big difference between an experience for you and capturing something to share it. They're two different things. And there's even degrees between all that too. But yeah, I agree with you. And this is a challenge I have too. Like, first thing, got to capture that, got to prove. Like, I grew up with a big thing of like, I wouldn't dare do anything alone. If I didn't have friends to do it, it wasn't worth doing. So kind of my own experiences were kind of discounted. So, but I love that idea. I'm gonna follow your advice. And next time I feel like, I got to no, I don't have to take a picture of that. I'm just gonna sit and enjoy whatever it is.
It's so interesting. It even comes from and I have to fight it too. Like, being a coach, being a mentor, social media is a massive part of any business. But I've got to be careful, like, what I share. And it's not because I don't want to give anything away. It's like, what am I trying to do here? Am I trying to get something which I need from myself? Am I trying to get the like buzz? Because that's like a pretty normal thing. If you're in social media, then the like buzz is, we all get it. So I just hold myself back and go, is this of true value to the people that I'm sharing it to? Or am I doing this because I need something? And if I need something, then I'll stop. Be like, what do I need? Oh, the inner journey again. I need a hug.
Yeah.
Where's my dog? Where's my girlfriend?
Yeah.
They're all signposts.
It'd be interesting, instead of like sharing whatever post you thought you could do or some picture of something, if you actually just wrote, I need a hug. I just realized I need a hug. And what the reaction to that would be. And just the much more honest reaction too, right?
Oh, it's like, I've got to do a video. Well, I'm doing a video today on confidence. And I was kind of racking my brain of like, what can I do? So actually, no, I'm just going to cut through all the bullshit and say exactly how I see it. And I don't actually mind if I piss anyone off, because I think everyone needs to hear the truth. I have friends who are confidence coaches, and I'm like, well, if I didn't say this, then I'd just be pandering to them. So I'm just going to say, I'm sure they'll still be my friends afterwards. I'm just going to be really authentic. But it's that if you post something which is completely, and do you know what, Andy? I can feel it in my chest now. I know what my light looks like. And all I have to do is think of that. Think of what I'm about to post. Does it match? Does the energy match? The energy matches? Absolutely. That's the way I've got to go. If the energy doesn't match, try something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, there's something I found through trial and error in my life. You can't be truly vulnerable and authentic if you're concerned about how people are going to react to it. Right? Like, I want to make everyone happy with me, so I'm going to be authentic. Like, it doesn't really go like that, right? I'm going to be authentic.
Inauthenticity.
Yeah, it's, and unfortunately, that's a lot of people big on social media and kind of the big ticket coaches can come off like that.
Authenticity is a buzzword whose meaning is being devalued by the sheer amount that it's shared. Authenticity, like, people can say I'm being authentic, but they're just saying the word. They don't actually have a deeper understanding of what it means to be authentic. And when I say I'm being authentic, it means that I am showing you me in my entirety, and I'm not expecting anything from you. This is me placing myself here, I'm not doing this for any other reason than to be my truest self and identity. And that's like one of the most vulnerable things you can do.
Yeah, and I really like that definition, because I see people kind of use it as an excuse, like, I'm engaged in some sort of bad behavior. Hey, I'm just being authentic. It's like, no, you're just throwing out a buzzword as an excuse to pretending that
exactly
you're just like, oh, I'm pure asshole, so I'm being authentic. Like, no, like I believe there's some part of you than the asshole, right?
Oh, that's awful. That's a really bad example. Yeah. And it's the same with vulnerability and self-love. There's such catchy buzzwords that people are promoting them, but they're not teaching anyone what they mean. Like people are just resonating with the buzzword, with like the wow, but they're not resonating with what it actually means to develop and cultivate those in someone's life, which is what we do, with our work and with our clients. And that's a whole nother podcast, a rant about people being inauthentic and how it's damaging the spiritual and like the mental well-being of our world.
So then let's go. How did you discover that there was some sort of value in being vulnerable, in not caring about the reactions, and not being authentic because it's the buzzword of the day? But how did you discover there was true value and possibly healing, it sounds like, from being you sharing?
Really simple answer. It made me feel good. Unlike anything else, it made me feel clean and good and right by me. And that's all I ever wanted in my life, was just the confidence. Confidence is another thing. I didn't have the confidence to do that. The confidence came from doing it. I didn't need a boost to be able to do it. It kind of doesn't make sense to me. I don't think we need confidence to do brave things, because we just do them. And then in hindsight, we go, oh, wait, shit, that was really courageous and really brave of me. Just do it. And then there's something about alignment, I guess, another buzzword, but being in alignment. And I see my alignment as an energy source coming from the top of my head right down out my bum, basically. And it's a line of like a laser, and then you've got these things that might shunt it to one side and misalign it. When that beam of energy is misaligned, that's when I manifest depression, bad habits, sleeplessness, unhappiness. When it is aligned, everything I do is right. And when everything I do is right by me, I heal myself because I'm honoring myself. That honoring of the true self, the true soul, that amalgamation of our physical form here on earth and the lessons that we're learning with our higher self, that creates something which is just blissful. And words do a really bad job of describing just how great it fucking is to be aligned. Like when I was talking about seeing that all my work I do is intuitive. I rarely write things down. I remember emotions, and that's how I navigate all my work, and it's phenomenally powerful. So I can see that energy, and all I need to do is match that energy. And that's when I know. And it's the same with clients. If someone doesn't have the right energy, then I'm not going to be able to help them. It is so important that we discover our energy, who we are, what we want to do, and then be authentic and be unafraid to be authentic. And then you can wear the badge of pride, if that's your thing, saying, I am authentic. And then you don't really need to tell people, because people are like, holy fucking Christ, Andy's amazing. Did he just say that?
Yeah.
Did Henry just say that?
That's the thing. When you are truly authentic and vulnerable, you'll know it, because that's what people are saying about you. It's not, hello, welcome to the Authenticity Show. And
yeah, totally. And people sort of say, I admire your strength, and I admire your vulnerability, and your vulnerability is your strength. It's like, thank you for recognizing that. And if you can recognize that in me, then you can recognize it in yourself. And that's what you're doing right now. To all the men who say that they're scared of being vulnerable, they're actually being vulnerable every day. Mm-hmm. It's just not seen. If you're communicating, with someone who's sad, and you say, oh, I'm sorry you're feeling that way, you're being vulnerable because you're engaging with that emotion. Like vulnerability isn't always this massive, big ball of contention to avoid. It's everywhere. We've just been told that it's not okay to do. It's like, it's everywhere.
Yeah. And you said it too, that you know, and it's really where the Real Men Feel as a title comes from, that, you know, I really, I see it more, but I'm just yearning for the time when just all of society recognizes vulnerability, being emotional, being sensitive as strengths of masculinity.
Oh,
right.
It is so strong. Like, I mean, I would bet any woman to say, you know, because this sex is important to men, at least heterosexual men. I am heterosexual, by the way. That's why I use this point of reference, is that there is nothing sexier than a man who can be vulnerable. Like, as a rule, I have never met a woman who has said, I find that really unattractive. If there's a man who can be, but like, I went on camera today. I'm not saying that I'm super sexy, by the way. I'm just giving an example of how a woman might find me sexy. Went on camera today and I cried. Later on in the day, I'm going to go in my workshop and hit steel with hammers. You know, there's a juxtaposition. There is a man who can be vulnerable, loving, open, but yeah, he can still do all the manly stuff.
Yeah. Again, we're the big secret that I constantly try to share: men are human beings. We have a full range of emotions. If there aren't some things that women are allowed to feel and men aren't, it's not like we have 5 emotions and they have 15 and, oh, we got screwed. Like, that's just not how it works.
It's not, is it? We are a guy said to me, oh, women speak too much. All women speak too much. And I was like, do they? Like, do men speak too much? Yeah, like men speak too much, but women, they speak too much. It's like, we're all human beings, you know? They're only doing what we do, and putting this label of femininity of it just widens the gap of you identifying with the part of you that you need to identify, and just remove the fear. And we are all human beings. Oh my God. We're fucking beautiful. I haven't got a pop filter on, so I can't like really say it.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Fucking beautiful. There we go. That is how I feel about human beings.
And the invitation, the opportunity is to feel that way about yourself. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I always, I dabbled in drugs. I was chasing things, but no drug lived up to the hype. No drug lived up to what I wanted. That love, that alignment, that feeling alive. That like just nothing did it for me.
But they pale in comparison. Like, I've been doing this meditation technique for a while, and I was on a run, and I always meditate to trance music. I just, something about the ADHD brain or something, I don't know, trance music just elevates me to that plane, like, very, very quickly. And I was doing this meditation, and I swear to God, like, it was orgasmic, Andy. I felt cracks appearing in my ego. I felt my true self come through, and I just burst out laughing in between moaning and groaning as I felt all this age-old pain just crack and fall away from this glowing heart within inside me. Like, I could have, like, I was just going, like that, and I was in a park in London. I didn't fucking care what anyone saw or thought, because I was having like a beautiful spiritual experience, and I just felt this joy, and all the bullshit just dropped away. I could have rolled around on the grass like I used to when I was on pills, but I didn't. Like, I did roll about in the glass, but I wasn't on pills. Like, drugs will never get you to that point. And if you think they do, it's a lie. Drugs exaggerate everything. Like, that is, and I can tell you that from a guy who has tried every single drug and tried them far, far too much, and tried to live a life taking drugs every day. Like, they serve a purpose, but they are not the answer. It's funny. Like, drugs are kind of recreational, used to bond us. But then you think what really bonds us is being emotional and vulnerable with each other. Yeah. To kind of fill that gap, like, that would be the way to go. But we kind of take drugs as an easy intermittent.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking for the easy way, but now I'm just like, wow, maybe the purpose of drugs is to get people into rehab so that they can fall apart and discover who they really are and bond and all these different things. Because, I'm sure the big cliche is that, the gift is in our shit. So were there gifts in your shit pit? Are there still gifts in your shit pit?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm going to take myself back there. I think what my shit pit showed me was my depth of understanding of emotion. You know, it also taught me how to be resilient. Now, I was being resilient sort of in a slightly warped way, trying to take it all on board and trying to see how much I could do before I break. But now I know how much I can take before I break. And I know that I can hold a very strong healing space for anyone because I've been there. And I've tried, you know, I've taken on so much and I managed to hold a space then, which was detrimental to my well-being. But now I've flipped it. I'm like, I can hold a space for people who are there where I was as they come out of it. Like the space I hold is very much the journey emotionally that I went through. And like things like depression, you know, I don't see depression as a bad thing. I see depression as a gift. It's an ability to at once be aware of the complete lack of emotional connection, so that when you do feel emotions, you're able to feel them in a far more nuanced sense. So we're able to see people's sadness in a far greater spectrum of meaning than someone who doesn't have depression. And also depression, I try not to say I have depression. I try to say I experience depression. And it's a really good healing tool. When things get too much, I shut down. I shut the world out, because that's what I need in this moment. And it is painful, but it's not forever. And I can reach out and be vulnerable with people that I need to, like support networks. Connection are hugely important, but it's a gift, like to be able just to shut down, to depress for a while, and just be in a space of nothingness and then come out of it.
I'm really glad you said that, because, you know, when I was at my worst and I was really depressed and suicidal as a teenager, I thought I was depression. It wasn't an experience. It wasn't something that happened. No, this is the truth of who I am. And in the times that I wasn't depressed, I thought this was the lie. Like, oh, the real me is hidden away for a little bit, but yeah, this good feeling, this is just going to end. This is what's temporary. The depression is what I really am. And, you know, neither are really true, but I was definitely flipped on a better way to navigate my life, for sure. But yeah, I find time and time again, every emotion serves us, and it serves us most. Absolutely. Willing to feel it the moment it shows up. Be willing to feel it then. It passes easier. But if we're just saying, oh, I don't have time to be depressed, or no, I'm denying I'm not depressed. I'm just fine. Everything sucks, and I just want to like cry or kill people, and sometimes both. But you know, it's Monday. That's how it is, you know, and that just doesn't serve.
That's how I get when I'm sad.
Yeah,
right. It's like there's something going on there. Like there's a pretty clear message being sent to you right now. Sit with it, find out. And I think it's so important that people like you and I exist, and there are more men coming forward now who have that ability to help men heal, be it energetically, emotionally, spiritually, in whatever way. But we are a growing movement of men who have walked that path and then offer solace and help to other men, so that they don't have to walk exactly the same path, and they can rise up faster. It's that the wounded warrior. You know, we are the wounded warriors, and we're coming back and we're protecting and we're helping. That's how I see it.
Is there anything from everything you've gone through and the lessons that you've learned and working with other men, is there anything that top of mind of, boy, I just wish all men knew this one thing, like the biggest thing you want people to realize or share?
You won't be rejected. Share it and you will not be rejected. That is the biggest fear that comes up. It's like, I can't tell my partner that I feel vulnerable about this. I can't tell my friends. It's like, tell them. You're not going to be rejected.
Cool. And I know you do some speaking. You enjoy speaking to teenagers?
I do. I speak around schools in the UK, raising awareness about mental health. And one thing that I do when I go into schools is I just say it as it is. You know, I was in school and they used to have amateur dramatics come in and teach us about drugs, and it never went in. Jesus, you know, I had a spliff right after. You know, I don't speak down to kids. It's just like, I know that some of you are taking drugs. No, that's fine. You know, this is my story. Learn from this if you want to learn from it. Talk to me if you want to talk to me. But I'd never in a million years go into school and just sort of to speak down to them because they'll just switch off immediately. They're human beings. You know? They know possibly more than I do, and they're more in tune with way more that's going on. You know, I have as much to learn from them. It's a beautiful opportunity, and like, I feel there weren't enough strong voices when I was growing up. I don't know if that was a generational thing, but I kind of want to be the change that I want to see in the world. And I want to help young boys. Like, I was that young boy who was desperately out of touch and with no identity, and that pain that I was going through. I think it really helps to have someone come along and say, hey, I was there. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
And not try to fix them, you know. Just like, I'm not here to fix you. Just here to listen.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's when I first, as an adult, started talking about my experiences. You know, I realized that when I was a suicidal teenager, the only place I heard anyone talk about that was in a mental hospital. And no one ever introduced me to someone, oh, here's someone that's, you know, really successful. But when they were younger, they wanted to die just like you do. I'm like, never. No, what? That's a thing? I had no freaking idea. There was nobody like that that I was seeing.
You want someone who's going to level with you. You know, it's the mental health first aid that a friend of mine did. It's like when someone comes to you and says, I want to kill myself. It's not, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, okay, how do we do that? You know, it's that leveling. You're on their level. Find out more about them. Right. Don't try and fix them.
Yeah.
And that's a word to everyone else listening. It's like, you can't fix anyone. Okay. You can listen to them. Yeah. So just listen.
And often that's what's needed. And you aren't going to trigger someone into an action by saying, do you have a plan? Do you know how you're going to do it? You know, you can talk more about suicide. It's not going to make someone suicidal, right? It's there. And it wants to be talked about.
It's a deep need to be heard, you know, and to let someone else. And it's so refreshing when someone doesn't try to fix you. Oh my God. Yeah. Banging my head on the side here. Like, it is so refreshing. And that could just be the shift that it takes. Yeah. They're like, oh Christ, he's not on a white horse. All right. Okay. I can talk to this guy. He's in the mud with me. Oh, right. Good.
So you mentioned your metal work earlier as one of the many signs that you are a traditional all-powerful man. You know, you take the elemental energies and you make things out of them.
I do. I've been a self-taught metal worker for about 12 years, maybe. I got a workshop up here in North Norfolk in the countryside, and and I make lots of steel sculptures. I make lots of very big animals and large, audacious, hugely elegant creations. It's something that frees me. I'm also going to be running retreats next year where men are going to come and do some group work, channel with nature, do some shamanism, and then they're going to go through my inner warrior program, and they're going to find a symbol of their warrior, and then they're going to go into the workshop and they're going to fucking make it. And I have never seen someone visualize their symbol of power and then create it out of steel where it hasn't had the most phenomenal effect.
So you're a self-taught sort of blacksmith? I don't know what a metal shop looks like. Is it really just fire and ore? Like, how is this?
It sounds very manly. It is. I'm not a blacksmith. Blacksmith work purely in flames and heating up steel and then putting it on the anvil. I do some of that, but what I mainly do is I weld steel, I cut steel with a plasma cutter, I grind steel, and then I use one of those big torches. That's the noise they make. They're terrifying. The oxypropane to like heat steel up and then bash it. So it's fire, it sparks, it's very dangerous. But you know what's great about it? Because it's so dangerous, it means that I have to be present every single moment. So that's why it's so blissful, because I'm totally present within my body at all times. And then I create these wonderfully elegant, beautiful things that people look at me and see I'm this 6'3" big guy, and then they see something really beautiful and they go, what, you made that? I'm like, yeah, I'm really vulnerable. How are you?
I'm bending steel to prove how vulnerable I am. Don't you get it?
Yeah. It's just this wonderful dichotomy, and it works well in my favor because I can say to men, it's like, listen, you know, if I can do this, but I can still cry and be vulnerable and pick flowers for my girlfriend and my mum, you know, what does that tell you? And it's often like, well, everything I've been told is a lie. It's like, yeah, it has. What kind of man do you want to be? How do you want to define yourself? When I say that, I get excited because it's like, yes. How do you want to define yourself? It's like, well, I want to be this kind of man. It's like, you can be that kind of man. It's that wonderful, I think the word definition and masculinity go together very well. It's like, redefine your masculinity.
Right.
Be that man. He's so powerful.
Yeah, the only definition that matters is yours. Each individual man's definition is what matters. And if yours doesn't feel good, if it doesn't light you up, then yeah, redefine it. Say, well, I tried being that version. Well, that didn't work. Let's try something else, right?
It's that thing, like when you're on your deathbed, you know, you're going to look back to that time where you wish you'd done the salsa dancing, but you didn't because you're afraid of what people might have said. Are you going to think, oh, I'm so glad I didn't do that? Or are you going to think, wait, why the fuck didn't I just do it? You know, like, I'm here. This is me dying at the end. There's no one else. Those people aren't in my life anymore. What felt right by me? And that's a framework that I use a lot. It's like, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm there. What am I gonna say when I look back at this moment? Like, I guess I'll do it then. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, it's been often said, you know, we regret the things we don't do more than regretting the things that we do.
Yeah. Completely.
Yeah. So
completely.
Especially if signs keep showing up. Yeah. If you keep having thoughts about trying that thing and it scares you, like, run to what scares you. That's the way I try to live now. Like, oh, I'm afraid of doing that. Oh, that means that's what I have to do next. You know?
Like, oh, my plans have changed. Yeah. Right. I know what I've got to do now. Absolutely. Awesome. They're all magnificent and fail magnificently. Why not?
Fail magnificently. I like that.
Yeah, like, I've been doing that all year and it's gone very well for me, actually. I've just removed the fear of failing. I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, it's going to fail magnificently. So fuck it, bring it on.
Cool. And so tell us a little bit. I know you have a podcast, and I had the pleasure of being on that. So how did that come to fruition for you?
Well, the podcast started out because I wanted to send a message to men. So it started out as the Inner Warrior Reframing Masculinity. And I got you on, Andy, and other guys that I felt could share a really strong message about that kind of definition of like how a man can define himself based on who he was. And the Inner Warrior is kind of central to my brand. It's archetypally, the Inner Warrior is there to allow for transition, you know, acting bold, making changes in the life. It often comes around when you're sort of like 13, 14. My belief is that you can reawaken that archetype and use it to traverse any challenging situation. I think masculinity and the navigation of that is a challenging landscape for men. And I wanted to get voices on. And I'm part of a Men Helping Men group on Facebook, and we have regular roundtables where we get together and we have a discussion. We've got a great one coming up on BDSM and kink. If anyone's interested, like, come along and join in. And then I changed it to just the Inner Warrior podcast because I found that it wasn't just men who have an opinion share, women as well. And the central thing of it was human beings defining themselves as they are, regardless of what femininity or masculinity or stacked odds seemingly were going to dictate their life to be like. They decided how they wanted to redefine their life. And that's the Inner Warrior podcast.
Awesome. So what's the best way for people to track you down, to learn more about you?
I would go to the podcast. That is the absolute best way to find out more about me. More about what I do. You'll get a really good feel about the kind of man that I am. If you do want to find me on Facebook, like, just come find me at Henry Johnstone. Come find me. I'm sure Andy will put it in the show notes. Send me a friend request. Say, hey, Henry, I heard you on Andy's show. Like, let's have a conversation. We can grab a cup of coffee over Zoom. We can chat some more. It'd be amazing. And my website is henryjohnston.org.
Awesome. I one of the first times we ever talked, you shared some with me some doubts, some concerns about coaching and business, And I just honestly, you're amazing. And I see and commend the work that you have done for yourself. And I see and I can just feel the love radiating from you, and anyone that gets the honor to work with you, to listen to the show, to be a guest on your show. You're doing powerful work, and it radiates out to everyone, and it's radiating to more people than you will ever realize as well.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
That means a huge amount. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, you got it going on. So if anyone is feeling a connection to anything that you've shared, things you've gone through, if you're places that they hope to aspire to, then reach out, join that Facebook group, listen to the podcast, have a talk with you, because you are magnificently beautiful. You are the warrior. Aww. You have risen from the ashes. I love that you pound things from the ashes, like you're like every masculine metaphor combined into one.
I do.
Fantastic.
I do.
Yeah. Cool. So I want to thank you for making the time to talk to me, to talk to everyone that's listening, and everyone wherever you're catching the show. Please a share, a like, a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, be good to yourself. Thank you for listening to Real Men Feel. Reach out to us at realmenfeel@gmail.com. Learn more about Andy Grant at theandygrant.com. Until next time, visit realmenfeel.org or the Real Men Feel Facebook group and share what you thought of this episode. Please give this podcast a review on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you are discovering Real Men Feel. Visit goodmenproject.com for more of the conversations no one else is having.